Pokemon ZA is a steaming pile of shit that's underbaked. But I actually like it. Yeah. Basically, I know it's underbaked, it's undercooked in every aspect. I can't sugarcoat any of that. But it kept me playing. I finished the game this Monday, and I kind of wanted to kind of go through a review. Very honestly, I can't get sponsored, too small of a channel. But I wanted to not sugarcoat anything and give you my raw feelings after finishing this new title. So I know I might get some flack from both sides of, hey, I love this game and this game is garbage, because I'm kind of in the middle and I feel like some of us are. I want to express why I feel like there's some good moments in this game, even though I understand that it's not justified to be an $80 game. But let's kind of play out what's really bad and what works. So starting with the bad, I want to talk about the world design and the setting. This is kind of one of the most contentious points because Lumino City is the only area that exists in this game. And the first time I heard about it, I was like, oh, so are they scoping the game just because they want to focus on the city? They want to flesh it out completely? I was kind of smoking some hopium and copium throughout the early stages of hearing this news, basically. So, no, they haven't. Like, if you've played this game already, you already know that it's pretty much just a very plain city. There's nothing in sight besides just people walking around with Pokemon. Like, that's fine. That's a great addition. It's just that you can't go into majority of the buildings. They're just giant blocks. They're blocks that are like in shapes of a building that basically a vehicle to add Pokemon on top of it. And the most, like, the rarest Pokemon are usually at the top of the buildings, and you have to find ways to go on top of the buildings. Sometimes you have to like circle around and try to find a Holovator or see if another building next to it has some kind of connection. It just feels like they haven't really fully fleshed this city out. So there's a few buildings you can actually go into, like the Hisuian Museum, which has some Easter eggs for Pokemon Arceus, and the Battle Restaurant, which has more of an immersive vibe that, like, hey, this is what people would do, like eat food while watching a Pokemon battle if you're more bougie. So they need to add more stuff like this if they're going to center a story around one specific city. It brings a lot of things to life and brings more character and personality to this small city that you need to flesh out if it's the only thing you're going to be, like, you know, basing the game off of, you know? And then another area that is kind of lackluster is the wild zones. This is where you kind of catch all your Pokemon early game and fill out your Mabel decks, but it feels really just copy and paste. There's maybe 3 or 4 different biomes that it basically copies and pastes, like the tundra, there's a park, there's like a pond, and there might be also like maybe a sewage. But it looks kind of the same. So whenever you go through the 20 different wild zones, it's going to have a very similar vibe, and the Pokemon maybe are a lot more expressive in the zones, but the environment itself is kind of, yeah, as I said, lackluster. So one thing that I was actually thinking about was, hey, there's no riding Pokemon. Like, I wish I can ride my Pokemon around the city, but now that I think about it, this city is so uninspired and there's nothing really to explore that I'm just like, oh, like at this point, I don't really care anymore that I can't mount any Pokemon. Like, I feel like that is a regression because Arceus basically had riding Pokemon for certain ones, but like here, not having it really doesn't bother me too much, and that kind of shows that this world itself has nothing to see personally. So now that we talked about the world, let's go into the story, because man, there is barely anything there. It's kind of like they set up an early scaffolding of, hey, there's mega rogue Pokemon going around. And then you get basically headhunted with the CEO of a company, and they're like, hey, you can be a secret agent for us, you know, catch those Pokemon and save people. And then you're like, yeah, let's go catch all these Pokemon or calm them down and then save the world. Which at that point I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Like that we're actually just like kids next door trying to save the world as we're like kind of just regular trainers. But I was thinking, like, at this point, this is kind of interesting because I was like, is that CEO evil? Because do they have any ulterior motive? And at that point, that was kind of like where I was going with the story. But if you just keep playing, nothing really happens with that. Basically, the CEO and the company was actually trying to help, which could be fine. But then the rest of the story is like, hey, we beat a boss and it's over. So to me, I felt like the story was very just one dimensional, which it might be my fault for expecting more in a Pokemon story. But man, they had that opportunity to do a little twist at the end and they didn't take it. And I kind of feel bummed out. So one small letdown that also affects the storytelling is the voice acting, the non-existent one, basically. I feel like a lot of the characters would have shined and had more personality and emotions with voice acting available, you know? Like, I think the character designs in this game are actually one of the best, if not one of my favorites. I love Cordon, I don't know, his syndicate boss, and basically him bickering with his, like, one of the guy with the Mega Skarmory. I thought that was a super fun just moment. Also, Naveen and Lalida, them like bickering all the time. I felt like those would come to life even more with voice acting. I love the dialogue here and there. There's some corniness here and there. It's a Pokemon game. It's for everybody. So like that's to be expected, but voice acting would come so clutch in a story like this and just like in a world where it feels kind of dead. And with the voice acting, it would feel a little bit more alive. So now that we talked about the setting and also the story, I want to kind of touch up on the mechanics, how certain stuff works. So one of the things I want to show you here is while the user's running, you want to change Pokemon, then your left finger basically has to go down, switch a Pokemon, return, and then send. So you can't really run and switch Pokemon at the same time, which I had a pretty big frustration on early on. I kind of got used to it, but there's some weirdness with some of the controls. Like basically I didn't get used to this too much, but throwing Pokeballs, you have to hold the left click sometimes for the auto aim. I feel like I've thrown Pokeballs at walls to the ground so many times that I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I went to the Pokeball guy like 200 times or more. So there's some weird stuff like that I feel like they should definitely tune and do more A/B testing before they launch something like this. But yeah, that's just a very minor nitpick. Now, what did I love? And despite everything, I did have a blast and I finished the game. So the first thing, and basically the main portion, is the battle system. The new battle system is extremely fun. The previous Pokemon games was a turn-based RPG, but now they added a layer that makes it a real-time combat game. And this changes everything, from the moves that you use to what kind of Pokemon you use. They also don't have abilities, so now we have a larger wide variety of Pokemon that are more viable because there's not these like broken Pokemon that have Intimidate or something like crazier that enhance the Pokemon to a degree that doesn't really work. So stuff like Mega Kangaskhan don't have that crazy like double up ability with the little baby. We can actually try new things and not be gated by a meta. A meta's still being formed, meta's gonna happen, but it feels right now to me that a lot of things are viable and on the table. It's chaotic, glitchy, and yet insanely fun. You get stuck in walls, it happens all the time, but experimenting with move interactions like Whirlpool or Fire Spin actually feels new again. Even weaker moves behave differently, which makes experimenting addictive. The combat is so simple yet addictive that it actually made up for the lackluster story. The rogue mega evolutions that appeared were actually the highlight of the story for me, basically, because it was so fun trying to go against these mega evolutions. I'm running around using the live combat system. For example, the Mega Benet fight, it was so hectic. I was like, who do I hit? There's 3 different clones. It clicked and I beat it. So there's so much potential for this gameplay, and I look forward to the future when they implement it further. I felt like the ZA Battle Royale mechanic was actually really fun. I kind of think that Pokemon Legends ZA is mostly focused around combat, while Pokemon Arceus is more about the exploration portion of the game. So if we're focused on battle, having a whole game revolved around the battle system, Battle Royale, I think actually makes sense. And I feel like that helped me progress each day and have something to look forward to, like, oh, I'm gonna go up a rank. And it just kept me playing, and that loop was very fun. And of course, Mega Evolutions. That's my favorite gimmick of them all. So, you know, like I'll take them any day. Also, let's not forget about the music. They were giga bangers. I can't even play them here because of copyrights, but I mean, if you've played it and you've listened to it, like you're probably jamming. I was jamming in half my streams. I feel like this was just, even comparing to the new Pokemon and the old Pokemon games, it was top tier, and I loved it. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about, actually, that went 0 to 100 real quick, was the end game sequence. When you fight with Mega Zygarde, when you fight with Angie, like basically Mega Floret going berserk. I think that whole sequence, while the whole city is broken down, you're following around this path with broken debris everywhere, and then you meet up with like your fellow trainers you fought throughout the game, and then they help you fight, and you're like comrades fighting in this live combat action, and then you fight the Mega Floret like tentacles, and then the Mega Zygarde comes out at the end with the Giga Cannon that shoots down. Oh man, that was peak, and I feel like it was one of the best ending sequences in a Pokemon game ever, and I'm here for it. I feel like I want to see something even crazier next time, but it raised the bar for a Pokemon ending by a lot, like a long shot. So yeah, I feel like I ended the game and I was like, damn, that was fucking good. I loved it. So like I can't give any flack on the ending. It was, to me, I loved it. So in conclusion, is Pokemon ZA worth it? I would say no. I don't think it's worth it if you don't have the extra money to play around with. I feel like this game is more of a love-hate experiment that Pokemon's doing. They're trying to see like if this system works without too much of a cost. But if you're down for it, I feel like you might find something you like about it in this game, like how I did. I do love it. I don't regret buying it at all, but there are a lot of kinks. Way too many, way too undercooked. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching. That's just my opinion. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I think the next game I'm going to be playing is Sun and Moon, because I've never played that before, and so I'm going in completely blind. And I want to play Cyber Sleuth. I think I've never really fully played through that game either, and it's been 10 years since I've touched it, so I want to do a playthrough of it. I'm going to be streaming, not every day probably, but whenever I can, and I'll update the schedule if I change it. But please come through on my Twitch, follow me. I'm trying to hit affiliate as well. Thanks for watching. That's it. Gemstone out.